The next position that I'm going to talk about is sitting, supported. So one thing to consider with a lot of these techniques is if you have a pack with you, we can either put a pack in front of us when we're kneeling or when we're sitting. We can take a pack and we can put it behind us to gain support again when we're kneeling and when we're sitting. I usually like to bring some of those kind of foam bags because they're real light. And when we're hunting, some of those shots won't be as risky if you are able to stabilize your body in a little bit better position. We can even run a Manfrotto, which is basically a tripod, rest a gun on that, sling into that, and become very, very stable in order to take a lot longer shot that might even be deemed typically unethical, but as long as now I can stabilize the gun, I can now increase my ability for hit. The other thing with these positions to understand is that I'm great at shooting prone, but the reality is when we're out here in certain types of terrain, you can't go prone. So you have to master these other techniques, be it kneeling, which takes a little bit of time to get into, or sitting, which in my opinion takes a lot more time to get into. Sitting is one of those things where you're really kind of pre-positioned and waiting for something. So typically it's your hunting. You could be ambushing as well. I'm not saying that you couldn't, but nevertheless you are in a more of a fixed position. So again, some different things to consider. We have legs open as far as this goes, and we have traditional, I'm gonna call it what it was when I was a kid, Indian style. You can call it crisscross applesauce all you want, but my class isn't like Common Core. There's gonna be a winner and there's gonna be a lot of losers. So nevertheless, these are the two positions that I'm used to, legs open and legs closed. Typically what we're looking for is we're looking for the hands to be pressed up against the inner portion of the thigh. Again, we don't wanna put bone on top of a bone. And we also, one of the big common mistakes is guys go to shoot and this arm's doing nothing. Even if it's out here and your legs are open, this arm's not making contact with anything. And the way to fix that when we get back into natural point of aim and body position is to rotate at about a 45-degree angle, and then my arms go right into those pockets. As far as feet go, if you're on definitely some type of dirt or sand or anything like that, I'd recommend you dig your feet into the ground so your heel doesn't have too much wobble in it. You want to stabilize your lower body as best as possible. So from that, our goal is to dig our feet in. Generally, wherever the target is, I'm bladed away from it. That way I can get my arms in here, press up against, and or same thing from this position. Some people get a little more dramatic, whichever works best for you, and go across the body. So this is where you're gonna fine tune it. Definitely if you have some lower back issues, you're gonna feel it when you're in a sitting position with the legs folded like mine are right now. Legs open works generally good for most other individuals. Most people can do that. And remember, if you're on the side of a hill or a mountain and I've got to shoot down, then I'm gonna position that pack behind me to help give me that little bit of support. So that one target's out at that one at 100 and one at 50, then that other one's over at 150. Makes it a lot easier when you're in these positions if you do what you should be doing. Contact point is very, very important, and you'll notice that in your crosshair right away. So that target, I had a miss. was at 200, and trying to be a reasonable cadence. Got a little bit of a wind call, about a mil of wind right now. For me, the sitting position is the best and most stable and most accurate position for me. The drawback that we're dealing with is it requires a lot of time to get into. And that's the ultimate question. How much time do you have? So we know that we went through speed kneeling, we went through a Salters kneeling, we went through more traditional kneeling, more of a national match kneeling. We did sitting, legs open, legs closed, and each one of them have an application. So hopefully this is going to give you a little bit of information to be able to modify a technique that's going to work best for you. Some students I'll have in class where they'll get into a sitting position and they'll rock a national match position at the same time. And that's what I'm talking about in this industry in regards to learning. What works for you may not work for somebody else. And what we're trying to teach is a foundation that's been taught for a very, very long period of time. Everybody's just kind of making it work for them. And that's ultimately what we're trying to achieve and do. So I hope some of these work best for you. I hope you fancy them, and I hope you make them your own.